So down in the States, you're known for a number of things. Obviously, having put together a good basketball team in Denver, also known for some speeches that you gave outside the Air Canada Centre. And maybe a word or two that might have got bleeped on television or anything, but we'll get to that in a moment. But for folks who don't know about you, talk about, obviously from the continent of Africa, and talk about your journey to get from there through Denver to Toronto and such.
Oh man, just started loving basketball at the age of 13. Obviously, I played soccer, and it was the dream sport. It's the dream sport in Africa still. We're trying to change that. But I was falling in love with an unbelievable game and watching tapes, watching VHS tapes, and Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon, all these guys just made me so interested in basketball. I can't even describe it. And tried to follow a dream of playing basketball. Came as an exchange student to Seattle and went to junior college in Bismarck, and then Montana State. I left Montana State and I thought I could be a professional basketball player, but when September comes and you're a pro basketball player and you don't have a job every year for 7 years in a row, then I think you gotta start doing something else. And so then I aspired to go into college coaching, and that didn't work out. And then I was fortunate to meet Gary Brokaw in Orlando, who worked for Ed Tapscott and in Charlotte. But you try to follow your dreams, John, and you try to work as hard as you can. I was lucky, and I was lucky to get a part-time gig in the NBA, and just kept working hard, and had a couple people give me great shots in working, Kiki Vandeweghe and Jeff Weltman, who works with us now with the Raptors, and then Brian Colangelo out of the blue. I never knew who I never met him. I knew who he was, and he tapped me on the shoulder and asked me if I wanted to come work for him here in Canada, and that was the beginning of my life here in Canada. 3 years later, I got a call too from the Kroenkes to come and take a GM job in Denver, and what an unbelievable opportunity for me. And then 3 years later, I find myself here, and I'm humbled to be here, and I love it. And I know people call me crazy when I say it, but I call it home. My family, my daughter is born here, so I don't want to bore anybody here, but that's my little journey.
It's not much of a boring journey, so it's hard to do that. So you've arrived at the last job that you'll ever have in Toronto. After all that moving around, there's no reason to move anymore. So what has been different about coming back than when you left? And what did you learn from being away that can help you be successful back here?
When I came here the first time, I just, you feel like there's a gold mine here, there's something waiting to happen, and you just hope you can be a part of it. And I felt that there was something waiting to happen here, and the players, the people, the city, the movement, every NBA player says this is like the best city they always visit when they come to play. The organization, the ownership. There's just something here that's so unique, I think, and maybe we just needed to get to pop it in some kind of way, and we're still trying, we're still learning how to play and how to win, but we must believe in ourselves here, and I just felt there was something here, and it really, really intrigued me to come back. So much potential, young kids, Canada basketball. I think it's I don't know what basketball will be here in 20 years, you know, like, but I just can't imagine. You know, I think it's going to be awesome. You hear all these great people speak, and I'm just proud to be part of it.
It's amazing how much people here care. I want to ask you this before I forget, because somebody brought it up earlier. I know that there was some talk, and Leo and I have talked about this since the franchise came here, of how great it would be to have a Canadian kid on the team. And Leo had hoped that his son Andy might end up playing here, and the Knicks got him, and then Tyler Ennis. We had heard that the Raptors were really interested in Tyler, and he ends up going down to Phoenix. Was that true? Were we trying to get Tyler? And does that matter at all? As a GM, as you're sitting there and saying, well, geez, he's a great kid, he's Canadian, but this kid's a little bit better.
There's no doubt in my mind, and I know it's during my time, and even if my time is short, there'll be a Canada basketball player playing for the Toronto Raptors, 100%. I have no doubt in my mind. It's something we think about every day. It's something we study the 12 players Wayne talks about every day. The guys in the NBA, the ones outside the NBA, the younger kids, the kids in college, kids playing overseas. We're just waiting for that one to come, and our team is situated where we're in the stages of in between development and growing and learning how to win in the NBA, as you can tell from our results lately. I think the time is going to come when we'll have a player, Canadian, but it's something we have to really study. I feel. I think there will come a time when we're just getting Canadians just to get Canadians, but I think now we want to get basketball players and basketball players that fit our program.
And when that youngster comes along, he'll owe some debt to Jamal McGlure, of course, who was the first Canadian to play for the Raptors and a favorite down there in Kentucky as well. What is next for the Raptors? You guys knocked on the door of the playoffs and got in, and then I think just lost to maybe a team that wasn't better than you guys necessarily, but more experienced. Do you think that the fact that you got there in the playoffs last year and played pretty well is what takes you to the next level, the second round, maybe the next round after that?
Who did we lose to again?
Well, stand up.
No, I honestly think we're a growing team, and we've always said it, we had this very fast start this year, and but young players, some of our players haven't even won before, they're not used to winning. We're all learning, we in the front office, the coaching staff, the players, and I think it's a growing stage for us. We thought we could be a top 4 team this year in the East, and people say the East is down, but I think there are some teams now that are knocking on the door now, and teams are getting better. Some of the games that you think are easy games, later on in the year, they're not so easy anymore, and I think that's one of the things that's happening to us too, is, hey, you have to buckle up. The NBA is a crazy league, and I tell you, it's competitors, phenomenal players that every day they want to basically kill you. So we have to be ready to play, but I think we'll continue to grow, our players continue to get better, and the young players, the Jonases, the Terrences, the DeMars, they continue to grow and get better, and hopefully we can continue to build. We're happy that we have good cap space coming up the next couple of years. We have our draft picks, and we have young players that are competing at least in the playoff picture. So I know people get the expectations become more, but we want to compete, we want to win in Toronto, and we'll continue to build and grow.
Well, as you win, people want more. They get to the playoffs, they want to get to the next round, and so on, and win a championship. How do you get your message, your philosophy, through Coach Casey down to the locker room, to the players rather?
Well, you have to practice what you preach, in my opinion, when you're a leader. And I've seen some great leaders here, great men and women. And whatever you do, you can't just talk. You have to walk. And I think you have to be respectful to people. You have to be good. And I honestly think you have to respect the game of basketball, because George Karl always used to tell me you can't cheat the game. You can never ever cheat the game. And however you do it, be true to how you do it. And I try to be black or white, whether I'm dealing with my coaches or our players or our staff. You just paint the picture that you want to paint, and you listen to people around you well, and you try to make decisions. So. You have to build a good culture, I think, a respectful culture where we respect our community, we respect the game, you respect your organization, and you respect the league that you're playing for. It's really, really important, because where do a lot of us come from? You know, like I was a 13-year-old boy from Zaria in northern Nigeria that never knew I'd find myself talking to you here. I used to watch you on the Reporters, by the way, when I was in Bismarck.
Had to do something to stay warm.
So our culture is, I think you have to build that from the top, and you try to model it from great people, great organizations, and really learn from what good winning organizations do, and good people study the game.
Are you able to get around to some Canadian university games and such? I know the Raptors spent some time here and such, but are you able to talk to some of the staff and some of the players and get to know some of the kids?
Well, we're limited with what we can do. But I try to be, as Michelle is going to kill me for this if she's here, I try to be as good as I can with Canadian basketball, and I've been to a couple college games, but my staff really does a good job of studying, I think, the game here, and we're doing so much with in our jobs that you try to divide yourself as much as possible, but the Canadian game, the basketball in Canada really, really intrigues me, and I think I tell you what, there's a bright future. I know that I'll just put it this way, Canadian basketball players aspire to play for the Raptors, hopefully.
No question. That's one of the great things about having one NBA franchise in the country, is that every kid in Canada wants to play for that franchise. It's not splintered like it is in the States. Hypothetical question, and take LeBron James off the table. One player in the NBA you could add to your roster, who would it be?
We all know who he is. I'm not even going to say his name.
Okay.
He might be Canadian.
Yeah, like I said, but might have been in the NBDL at some point. If you if you could take something that you had done and take it back since you've been here, what would it be? Don't say that word that you said there.
I'm not allowed to say it?
No, I mean, I don't want you to choose that, because I was glad you did that. I was down there in New York clapping my hands going, that's my team, that's my team. You don't want to take that back.
Oh, trust me, I ain't taking that back. I hope we play them again. And I'll say it again.
All right. No, I'm talking more like a decision or something that you've done personnel-wise.
We have a lot of like personnel decisions there. I say that I think to be successful in the NBA, you gotta get it maybe 70% right. You know, like it's there. We all have blunders that we've done and committed and in the game, but the ability, I look at the Pat Rileys and the Joe Dumases and those guys, they're so clever. You make a mistake, you snap out of it and you move, you know, like that's the way the NBA is. You can't continue hopping on it, because I don't care how smart you are, you're never gonna get it right, 100% right in this business. It's just not possible, because we're relying on 12 players on a basketball court. Everything really is reliant on those guys.
12 guys in short pants, that's never something to rely on. If you're leaving the ACC one day and some young 8-year-old kid looks up to you and says, "Sir, what do I have to do to make it to the NBA?" And he's a young Toronto kid. What do you tell him?
I'll ask him if he wants to play or if he wants to work in the NBA.
Does he want to be rich or does he want to
be
happy?
No, in my opinion, you always have to follow your dreams, and you can never say never. You know, like I hate to bring it back to myself, but I'm the primary example. You know, like where I grew up now is a place that's talked about on TV as like where there's issues and problems, and I grew up happy. I grew up dreaming big, and here I am sitting down in an incredible country with an incredible opportunity. So, you need a little bit of luck sometimes, but you gotta push, and it's what I try to preach here, and I know I carry a load with the continent I'm from, and there's so many smart people. I always say to the kids when I go to Basketball Without Borders or these places, I tell you what, even my dumbass can do it, like all of you can. There's no question about it.
Do you know, that's a great point you bring up, and I don't want to get too heavy here, but you know, having been to Africa a few times myself, and you see some terrible poverty and some terrible situations there, and now there's unrest in several countries, and you touched briefly about the unrest that's going on in Nigeria right now. Are you able to pass that on to the players, just how lucky they are, how fortunate they are?
There's no question. We have to be voices. We have the players have to pass it on to the youth. The youth is the next movement in the world, and I think it's said that, I hope I get this right, the African youth is going to account for 20% of the youth in the world in 50 years. It's incredible. We have to affect them over there, and I don't believe in all the religious crap that everybody talks about, where people are blaming it on religion. The problem is poverty. The problem is youth idleness, and we have to affect youth to get them doing better things rather than engage in all the nonsense that's going on.
I know that Dikembe Mutombo Dikembe Mutombo, who's just been nominated for the Hall of Fame, is a friend of both of ours. He put on a charity event that you had him here last year, and the first time I went to Africa, I went to the Congo with Dikembe when he was opening up a hospital there. And so I know it's near and dear to your heart to give back as well. Are you having success in that? And here's a chance to try and get a few hundred people to help you.
First of all, I'd like to pay respect to like some of the guys that sat here, from Stu Jackson, who always used to scold me when he worked with the league, and to Wayne Parrish and Glenn Grunwald and Gerson and all these guys. They are unbelievable. Like my relationship with all of them, Michelle O'Keefe, Roy Rana. It's amazing how all of them touch you in different parts and different stages of your career, and I'm so respectful to them, and we are thankful in this setting to have such great minds. But talking about people that have helped, I can't even say enough about George Raveling. Much respect to George Raveling, because many years ago I started my basketball camp, and he pulled me, and I was trying to get gear from Reebok, and he gave us this unbelievable deal where he's given us gear for our camp for, I think, almost the last 8-9 years with Nike, and I tell you what, it's raised the level from here to here, and I'm proud of him. When I read the Sports Illustrated article, I'm proud to know him. So, thank you, George.
I can echo that too. I've known George for a number of years. He's coached at Iowa and USC, and he's one of the finer gentlemen around, as all, everybody who you mentioned. And this has been a tremendous group. I think, Ivan, I'm going to give Masai one chance here to repeat yourself from outside of the Air Canada Center. And if you want to substitute words, you can. But what can we expect from the Raptors heading towards the playoffs once they get this little blip turned around?
Well, I say we want to win. We want to win in Toronto, and we want to build a program that is going to sustain. Tired of all the excuses, and it's cold. Yeah, it is freezing here though. On stage, I mean. But we want to build something here that I hope I can be part of building something here that really sustains, and something that we can all be proud of, because the city deserves it. I think the organization deserves it. You talked about the fans. They're unbelievable, and I think our players see that, and we want to continue to build and grow. And I know something. I know we will win in Toronto. We will win in Toronto, and I know we're going to sustain for a long time.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, the general manager of the Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri.